Quasimodo wasn't just a character from fiction. He may have been inspired by a real person hidden in the pages of history. For years, people believed Victor Hugo created Quasimodo entirely from imagination. But evidence discovered long after his death suggests something far more intriguing. A real hunchback craftsman may have walked the halls of Notre Dame long before the world met the fictional bell ringer. To understand this mystery, we have to go back to the early 1800s. Paris was changing rapidly. Medieval architecture was being torn down, remodeled, or forgotten. And Notre Dame Cathedral, once the heart of the city, had fallen into disrepair. It was dark. It was damaged. It was nearly abandoned by the people it once protected. But inside those crumbling walls worked a small group of craftsmen who dedicated their lives to restoring its beauty. Among them, historical records mention a mysterious stone carver. He worked quietly, almost invisibly, staying high on the scaffolding, where few ever saw him. Those who did described him as a man with a noticeable hunchback. They said he rarely spoke, he avoided crowds, and he preferred to work late hours when the cathedral was empty and the city's noise faded to whispers. He was more comfortable with statues than people, more at home among stone gargoyles than in the busy streets below. Victor Hugo often visited Notre Dame during this time. He walked its dark corridors. He studied its carvings. He wrote in the shadows of its towers. The cathedral itself inspired him to write the novel. But what he saw inside may have inspired much more than that. Hugo became fascinated by the silent workers hidden within the building. To him, they were like spirits tethered to the stones they restored, guardians of a forgotten world. One detail stood out to him above all others: a hunchback sculptor who seemed devoted to the cathedral as if it were part of his soul. Hugo never mentioned this man by name, but the timing was perfect. The location matched, and the resemblance to Quasimodo was uncanny. Some historians believe Hugo saw this craftsman and quietly shaped his iconic character around him, not out of pity, but out of admiration. Decades later, the mystery deepened. An old memoir surfaced, written by a British sculptor who worked in Paris around the same time. Inside, it was a short but powerful reference to a humpbacked carver who lived mostly inside Notre Dame. The memoir described him as gentle, skilled, and deeply committed to his craft. He was known for patience, for precision, for kindness, and for spending most of his days and nights alone. He wasn't feared like the fictional Quasimodo. He wasn't mocked or chased through the streets. He was respected for his dedication and quiet strength. When this memoir came to light, historians began to connect the dots. The descriptions matched the anonymous worker Hugo may have encountered. The timeline aligned with the writing of the novel, and the emotional resonance was too strong to ignore. Quasimodo, in Hugo's story, wasn't meant to be a monster. He was a symbol, a reminder of the beauty that hides behind what the world calls flawed. A tribute to the people who live in the shadows, but hold entire worlds together, and a mirror reflecting the loneliness that comes from being misunderstood. The real craftsman behind the legend may never have known he inspired one of literature's most iconic characters. He may have lived his entire life in quiet anonymity, working, carving, restoring, loving the cathedral that became both his workplace and his sanctuary. But through Hugo's writing, a part of him lives forever. A man who shaped stone may have unknowingly shaped history. Quasimodo's story reminds us that extraordinary people often look nothing like the heroes we imagine. Sometimes the greatest strength is found in solitude. Sometimes the purest heart belongs to the one the world overlooks. And sometimes, the legends we cherish begin with a single, forgotten life. Leave a comment below, share, like, follow, and subscribe for more.